What If There Were No Bees? A book about the grassland ecosystem by Suzanne Slade, illustrated by Schwartz. Don't be fooled by a bee's size. It's tiny compared to the foxes, skunks, and owls that share its grassland home. But bees do the work of giants. Bees spend countless hours darting from flower to flower to collect pollen and nectar. Grassland plants, animals, and insects are tied to one another by food chains. Bees, as well as other living things, belong to several chains. Many food chains are connected by one plant or animal to create larger food webs. It's critical. Did you know people are part of food chains too? We are at the top of many food chains. Now let's stop and think. Look at the chain of arrows in this image. Where does the chain stop and end? What do you notice about the animals in the chain? What do you notice about the different colored arrows? Flowers are a bee's best friend. They're often filled with a sweet liquid nectar. Bees sip nectar to keep up their energy. Honeybees also use nectar to make honey. As bees collect nectar, tiny pieces of pollen stick to their furry legs. When bees visit other flowers, the pollen falls off. Flowering plants need pollen to create seeds and fruits. This process is called pollination. It's critical. Bees usually stay within 2 miles, 3.2 kilometers, of their hive. If they can't find nectar, some bees will travel up to 7 miles, 11.3 kilometers, from home. As bees fly around to collect food, they face many dangers. Spiders, birds, toads, and other hungry predators hunt these hard-working insects. Pollution and some of the pesticides farmers use to protect their crops can also hurt bees. Mice often make unwelcome nests in honeybee boxes. While the mice aren't dangerous to the bees, they do damage the boxes and the bees' honeycomb. The smell of mouse droppings may cause bees to leave their hive for good. It's critical. Since 2006, more and more honeybee colonies are dying unexpectedly. Worried beekeepers aren't sure why so many colonies are disappearing. Some people believe bee diseases, pesticides, poor eating, and stress are harming bee health. What would happen if bees became extinct? If there were no bees, farmers near grasslands would have a lot of trouble growing crops. Farmers need bees, especially honeybees, to help pollinate their fruit and nut trees. Apple, cherry, plum, and avocado trees would produce less fruit, or none at all, without bees. Almond and macadamia trees would produce less too. It's critical. Sometimes a plant or animal species is so important that without it, many other species could become extinct. It's called a keystone species. Bees are a keystone species. Keystone species help make sure an ecosystem has many types of life in it. Now let's stop and think. What did we just learn? What harms bees or causes them to leave? How will this affect the crops? Do you have any predictions? Fields of strawberry plants wouldn't be able to produce fruit. Neither would blueberry plants. Without bees, there would be fewer carrots, onions, and other vegetables. Bees are major pollinators of many fruit and vegetable crops. It's critical. Honeybees pollinate about 90 different crops in North America. They help create about 1/3 of the food we eat. Some farmers hire beekeepers to bring hives of bees to pollinate their fields. The bees stay a few weeks, then are moved to another field. Grassland wildflowers and other plants couldn't make seeds without bees. Flowering bushes in nearby forests couldn't grow berries for birds. Soon, many mice, squirrels, and other small animals would not have enough food to survive. It's critical. With fewer small animals, larger animals would be in trouble too. Foxes, owls, and other meat eaters would have a tougher time finding food. Honeybees make honey. From the nectar they collect, bears, skunk, mice, and ants love the sweet honey. It's an important food source for them. Without honey, these animals and many other animals would suffer. It's critical. About 1/5 of a black bear's diet comes from honey, plus the fruits, nuts, and berries pollinated by bees. Without bees, black bears would be forced to move to new areas in search of food. Now let's stop and think. What have you noticed in the past few pages? What is missing in each image? How does this relate to the food web we saw in the beginning of the book? Without bees, grasslands and nearby farms and forests would become quieter, less colorful places. Fewer truckloads of fresh fruits and vegetables. No flowering plants blanketing the wide open fields. No bright berries or crunchy seeds for the forest animals to eat. What would happen if bees became extinct? All kinds of things. The loss of one small creature, even as small as the bee, can have a huge effect on the ecosystems of our world. Today, scientists are studying bees closely to learn how to keep them safe and healthy. Farmers are finding new ways to control pests. All this hard work should mean more bees buzzing around in the future. Note: bees live on every continent in the world except Antarctica, and they live in all kinds of ecosystems, including desert, tundra, and forest. This book focuses on bees in the grassland ecosystem. What can we take away from this book? How can we help keep bees safe? What is our place in the food web?